That's the way we're going to go ahead and do this. For those that don't know me, my name is Nelson Gord. I started the Indians back on December 1st, 2007. At the time I was an employee of Play Ball USA, saw a need, kind of in the community for a travel team, and now there's a lot of people saw a need, so a lot of people started them. But at the time we just had an 11 and 12 and a 13-year-old team. We started the high school program in the fall of '08 for the 2009 season, so this will be the 5th year for the high school program and the 6th season for the program overall. A couple things in addition to that, I'm also the head coach here at Notre Dame, so that's why we get to use these wonderful facilities, and tryouts were at the field out here. I coached also at Oakland Community College. I was at Maine West for 1 season. I have a college and professional playing background, played at UIC, and then moved on and played with the Schaumburg Flyers, and I was 1 spring with the Houston Astros, so I'm not going to make anything up that wasn't true. No official at-bats, just a spring training invite. And then I finished up in Kansas City. So that's a little bit about my background. Another important figure that you should know is Jeff Coggin, who's sitting right here in the, I don't know what color shirt that is.
That's my wife.
Yeah. I think there's a word for it. It's like coral or something, right?
That's my wife.
Okay. Jeff is the executive director of the program. And one thing that has to be known about the Indians, oftentimes there's confusion because we were born out of play ball. Oh, it's the play ball team. Okay, well, let it be known that the Indians stand on their own 2 feet. When you guys are making a financial exchange, when you're doing whatever, that's dealt with through the Indians. That's a 501c3. It's a separate organization. It's run by a board of directors. Last year we had 17 people on the board. We had a representative from each of the individual teams that we had, and the decisions are made through there. So it's not me sitting saying, I want this, this is the way it should be done. We openly discuss things, whether it be travel arrangements, which we'll talk about, uniforms, scheduling, everything's run through that board. There's another party involved, and doesn't really need a name because that's secondary, but we do use an outside accounting firm, and we do that because it just makes things a lot easier. So when you'll see that accounting at Illinois Indians baseball, that's not me with a pseudonym or Jeff with a pseudonym. That actually is an accounting firm that we use, and it's Pernini and Gippus, right?
So just Pernini Associates.
Pernini and Associates. Okay. So that that's the firm that we use, and you'll have some exchanges throughout the year with our friends over there. So as we move on, one of the things that I know a lot of people ask is who's going to be the coach. Who's going to be the coach of my team? Well, what team am I going to be on? All that stuff. Actual coaching assignments, we have a general idea of what we're going to do. A lot of the coaches from last year are going to move up a level, but those aren't set in stone. And those aren't set in stone for a lot of reasons. Coaches could have scheduling conflicts. They could be teaching summer school. They might have family, might be expecting a child. So I'm not going to sit here and say, well, 100% this is going to be your coach. Okay, what I can tell you is on that list that I have in the presentation from Matt Mayhay, TJ Knoll, Corey Lipinski, Joe Pauly, right on down the list, that we have a core group of really talented individuals that had some success as a player, but more importantly, most of them, about 3/4, 85% of them actually went to school to become a teacher. And I think that's important because in actuality that's what being a coach is. It's taking the baseball and learning how to be able to convey that to the young men and get it to them effectively. So that teaching background I think really helps us as a staff get those points across. It's not about wins and losses necessarily, it's about teaching them the game, teaching them about how you can apply it to life. The next slide, are people following along with this? No? Can't get on? Okay, well, we're crashing and burning. All right, well, the next slide on here, it says, why play for the Illinois Indians? And for the families that have been in the program before, at the end of the year, I send out a kind of an end of the year survey, and I want to get feedback on what we did well, what we need to work on, and try to formulate the plan going into the next year. And for 4 years running, you know, when we ask what the strongest part of the program is, it's the off-season training program, you know, and the coaching. And like I said, I really do think we have a good core group of guys, and I believe that our off-season program, you know, especially with the refinement that it's went through in the past couple of years, is second to none. Some of the kids, you know, made vast improvements in a lot of different areas, you know, bumping up their throwing velocity, you know, fundamental skills, their ball exit speed, a lot of the things that, you know, they need to make their high school team, you know, to make their varsity team. A lot of those things they're, you know, improving on, and that's because we really took a targeted approach and said, okay, well, you know, what do our guys need? It's easy to say, well, he's a good baseball player, or he needs to be a better hitter. Okay, but once you start applying data to it, and once you start marking that improvement, and kids start getting excited about it, it motivates them to even work harder. And along with that off-season training, one thing that we do is we send out, you know, where the kids are. You know, it's an open book, and some people have a hard time with that. You know, they don't like to see the truth. Okay, but at this point, you know, that window of opportunity, if the goal is varsity baseball or even college or professional baseball, that window of opportunity closes a little bit each day. So it's important that we are an open book, and you guys get to see where you fall in with some other players. The training program, the way that we do it, it's actually offered 5 times per week, and the way we program it is, you know, last year, and it will probably be similar this year, is Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday nights. We went from about 8:30 to 10, 8 to 9:30, depending on the night, and those 3 nights were pretty much the same. They focus on one specific or 2 specific, you know, skill things like we're talking. Okay, today we're going to work on ball exit speed, and then we're going to apply that with swing mechanics. You know, so we do some sort of functional movement, be it a medicine ball throw, some band work, some explosive power type exercise, and then we go into the cage and try to apply that there. So there's the functional part, and then it's actually applying it, you know, in a baseball setting. So that's what our weeknight sessions are, and you know, we encourage kids to make at least one of those during one of the weeknights. And then on the weekends, the program's geared a little bit more towards the team and the skill development. So we're not going to do as many measurements. We're not going to do as much testing. We're going to talk about team defense. You know, we're going to talk about approaching a ground ball. A lot of the more subjective parts of the game, a lot of the more kind of, I guess you could say, baseball IQ or baseball acumen type things, we're really going to hit on those. And we're going to do it in a team-like setting. Going down the why play for the Indians, the professional head coach, you know, we touched on that already. We don't have parent involvement as far as baseball is concerned at the high school levels. You know, I know some programs may have an assigned head coach and then asking dads to help out. Moms, dads, if you want to help bring a cooler of water to the game, you know, or keep your own book, and you know, let us know if you think it was a hit or an error. That's great, but the kids in the dugout are keeping books, and we're kind of cross-checking that. And then, you know, as far as baseball is concerned, we pretty much have that covered. So, why play for the Indians? One of the other things to mention is the college placement part of it. And I think one of the things that I pride myself in is, you know, on many levels, from professional, college, you know, Division III, junior college, Division I, is I'm, you know, kind of a networker. You know, I enjoy getting out there, meeting different people, learning about the game, attending conventions, and, you know, that's really what this game is. Baseball, you know, much like a lot of other things in life, it's about that network. It's about, you know, the people that you know, and I'm not sitting up here promising, you know, your son's going to get a scholarship because of somebody I know, but the larger that is, the more opportunity that's out there. You know, I firmly believe that it's easier to play college baseball or a college sport than it is to play at your own high school. You know, you can't really choose your high school to an extent, but colleges, there's thousands out there. You know, at varying levels for different types of talents, for different types of kids, and there's the right fit out there. You know, but you can't just pigeonhole yourself and say, I want to go to a Big Ten school, and that's the be-all, end-all. So You know, the larger the network, the more opportunity, the more choices, the better off you'll be. In the 10-year history, this will be 10 years for play ball. You know, like I said, 6 years for the Indians. Players that we've worked with directly, you know, there's been 206 kids move on to play college baseball, and I think that's a pretty awesome number. Not saying we're the reason, you know, but we were part of their story, and I'm very proud of that. Last thing, why play for the Indians? You know, outside of the 5 nights a week of training and all that other good stuff, if you haven't had enough, then, you know, we do offer the private lessons and some other things for those people that need an individual type setting. You know, so other teams might have, you know, their practices, but their coach has a full-time job. You know, most of our coaches, that's what they do. They're baseball people, kind of through and through. And this is an important slide, the next one. Anybody have the next, or have it up there? Slide number 4, or is it not working for anybody? Not working. How's mine working though?
I think we all have to go up on top of the stage.
We'll switch it up. The next slide, the reason it's important is because it's a hot button for a lot of people. You know, last year, almost exactly a year ago, it was August 22nd last year, I think, our presentation. This year we're the 19th. You know, I stood up in front of probably a larger crowd than this and said, hey, you know, we have this new facility, it's opening. It's going to be great, it's going to be fantastic. And I can tell you with 100% certainty that I was 99% sure that that was going to be the case. Okay, let it be known. I wouldn't steer you otherwise. I wouldn't have closed my doors in Des Plaines had I not believed that. I thought it was a done deal. I really did. And, you know, unfortunately, sometimes in life we don't have control over things, and things kind of went sideways, and it's been a rough go of it. You know, some of you have seen the email that I sent out about a month ago. Others haven't, but, you know, I tried to spell out what happened. What I can tell you, and that's why the slide's kind of important on this presentation, is there's actually a picture of me signing the lease. You know, and many have seen that, and it's going to be awesome, and it's going to be great. And some of you who are actually here right now have actually walked through there and seen it firsthand. And it will be open in time for our first practices. It's a 22,000 square foot facility. It's just off of Rand Road in Mount Prospect, 412 Business Center Drive, if you want to write down the address. And right now, you know, we're hoping in the next week or so to have the cages installed. We've already put the poles up. We've already attached the hooks to the ceiling. We're just waiting for the turf to come in. We're going to lay that, drop the cages, and at least we can go in there and hit and pitch and do all that good stuff. Okay, as far as the rest of the facility is concerned, you know, that makes up about 5,000 square feet back there. The balance of that, the other 15,000, 17,000 square feet, we're hoping to have October 1st, you know, the rest of the turf laid out. November 1st be fully operational for our team practices, and then we have a big, you know, grand opening gala on 12/12/12. So that's a Wednesday night, but we're going to do, you know, a whole week long of events. There's some guys who, you know, are playing professional baseball right now that we're inviting back that have already committed, and one of our partners in it, or my partner in it, is a football. You know, he's kind of the football guy, and we have an NFL player who has invested. He's a partner as well, so it's going to be a pretty neat thing. It's going to be a really cool thing, and that facility, the title of the facility is called Players U. I think some of you are aware of that. And then Play Ball USA is going to be the baseball aspect or the baseball tenant of this larger facility. So, did I miss anything on that? A few other things on the new facility. You know, some of the things that we've measured out there, from running the 60, you know, to throwing velocity, stuff like that. It's really hard to improve if you can't train and do it. And I know your kids are committed and they're dedicated, but I don't think many of them are going out, you know, in the middle of December or January and running wind sprints. And I just don't think it's the case. But at this facility, it's 220 feet long, So we can actually run a full 60 in there. There's going to be a track dedicated to that. You can get a long toss in there. You can do a lot of things that we haven't had the opportunity to do in the past. So it's really going to be a benefit to the players. And then, since there are very few places where that can happen, you know, it gives us a chance to invite some others from the outside in to evaluate players, which is a neat little niche in that respect. All right, the next, the PowerPoint really was cool. The next slide on here talks about the timeline of the program. Right now, you know, we're sitting here at the end of August. I can tell you hard numbers, about half the kids that we have roster spots for have committed so far. So that leaves a whole nother half that we're either waiting to invite or waiting for the response. Okay, so we have one tryout left, you know, this coming Sunday, and we're going to see what happens. We're going to see what happens. So that's where we are numbers-wise. We're hoping to get everything, rosters, you know, who's all playing, done by September 1st. You know, that would be the goal. If we can't do that, we're going to continue pushing, you know, continue moving forward. We do have a fall program, and that is on the website. It says 2012 Fall Ball. The fall program, we're really focusing heavy on the juniors and under. We only have about 10 or 12 true seniors right now that are 18 years old, and there hasn't been a high demand. I think a lot of them are doing some other showcase type events, and their fall schedule is pretty booked. So the schedule that we're playing is geared more towards that junior class and below. We have a number of games scheduled, a number of tournaments scheduled for that. So if it is something that interests you, we'd really like to know as soon as possible, because we're planning on practicing as soon as next week. So right now there's, you know, a couple dozen or so committed, and you know, we're guaranteeing 18 to 22 games for your son. So more players means we have to schedule more games, and we're going to divide up the roster and the schedule and who's going where, you know, based on that. So we're looking to have those numbers in the next couple days. If you think you're going to play, you know, please at least do us the justice of going online and registering. And if you decide, you know, it's not going to happen, I'd rather have it that way, you know, than just waiting, and then we don't have a spot for you. So the sooner we can know, the better. So we get through the fall. At the end of the fall, on September 22nd, this is a big date for many of you, if you want to write it down. We have Skill Show coming out. And what Skill Show is they're the outfit that does all the filming for Perfect Game. And the significance of that is those two partnered up and created this thing called Web Ball TV. I believe that's the name, something like that. And that web TV is used, you know, when you watch the MLB draft, all those high school kids that you see coming out, you know, those are the videos that you're looking at, filmed by this particular group. You know, so for years I went ahead and did it myself. I'm filming guys, I'm trying to edit the video, you know, I'm up till 3, 4 in the morning, and it was silly. So we're bringing in guys from the outside to do it professionally, and if we're going to do it, we're going to do it with the best, and they're coming out just for us. So they're an East Coast group flying in just for the Indians. Pretty neat thing. And I did send out a web link to that, but I'll send out another one as a reminder. A couple weeks after that, another neat thing is we got invited to that Perfect Game World Wood Bat Underclass World Championship, I think they call it. And that's significant because for years I've been trying to get into one of those tournaments. You know, probably the heaviest recruited event in the nation is the Jupiter Fall event, which is also run by Perfect Game. And for this year, that would be for the class of 2013 and some 2014s. But this event is kind of a segue to that. This is a 2014 and under event, and if we show well there, you know, we'll get the opportunity to play in that big dog, you know, next fall. So that's why it's a really significant thing to kind of be in that direction. And we've invited a number of players. We asked for interest, and I think we're going to be in pretty good shape. And that's October 4th through the 8th. Moving on from there, we finish out the fall, we go into November. That's when our season, or our off-season training begins. So 5 nights a week from November all the way up into, I believe, February 17th is the date. And the reason it's the 17th is because last year, and I will spell out the rule here, last year the IHSA changed the rule. It used to be where you had to stop practice with the club team 3 days prior to your high school team starting, and this year they moved it to a full week. Okay, so I know there's some gray area there and people push the envelope and want to tell you what the rule is. That's the rule. Okay, I'm a high school coach and I do this. I better know. Okay, so high school baseball officially starts Monday, February 25th this year. That's when your first day of tryouts should be, you know, if you're following the protocol. So we're done then on Sunday the 17th. Once high school season starts, we don't do a thing as far as the team setting is concerned. If you want to get together with your coach and schedule something one-on-one, there's nothing that says you can't do that, okay, but we can't hold any team function or any team practices, any team workouts, anything along those lines. So for the 15U team and maybe the 16U team, we'll resume about the middle of May. You know, most freshman teams are done about May 15th to 20th. The varsity teams, you know, a lot of the sophomores will be called up to varsity for the playoffs, and the regionals are the week leading up to Memorial Day. So as soon as your high school season's done, you know, we'll schedule a team practice or a team meeting and kind of get back into Indians mode. Okay, but we really, you know, by and large during the high school season kind of shut it down. And then the tournament schedule starts. So for the 15U, you play an additional weekend, you play an additional tournament. You'll start May 25th, that Memorial Day weekend, and everybody else will start the week after that. So it'll be somewhere, depending on the length of the tournaments, you'll play somewhere between 7 and 9 tournaments. You know, some teams will play in some of those week-long events, that'll back it down one. Others play just every weekend, you know, that'll put it about 8, and the freshmen should play in those 9 tournaments. Now the fun stuff. Does everyone need a break? Sick of hearing me talk? I need a break. Alright. So with the team layout, you know, one of the big questions is the difference between, you know, the tribe team and then you have the Indians team. Okay, and everybody wants to know, well, what team am I going to be on? You know, I need to know this because this is going to make my decision, and that's fine. If what team you're going to be on is your be-all, end-all, you're in the wrong place. Okay, and the reason I say you're in the wrong place is because it shouldn't matter what team you're on. Okay, it shouldn't matter what position you play. I know you want to do certain things, I want to do certain things too, okay, but sometimes it just isn't in the cards, or sometimes factors around you dictate otherwise. Okay, and you know, I've had phone calls and emails, well, you know, I need my son to play this position, and can you guarantee that? No. No, I can't. Okay, I need him to be on the tribe team. You know, is that 100% certain? Yeah, well, it's 100% certain, but if you want to be on that team and he's not playing, you've then forfeited your opportunity to say anything. Okay, and I really thought long and hard because I'm answering so many questions on this, on what the tribe program is. And I came up with some data, I came up with some numbers, and it started to make good sense to me. When we go out there and do the tryouts, you know, there's the 4 tests that we kind of use as our baseline. Okay, we ran the 60, we did that pro agility shuffle, we had them get their throwing velocity, you know, the same way. We didn't have pitchers throw one way and outfielders throw another and catchers throw their way. We had everybody doing it the same way so we can compare apples and apples. Okay, and then we got their ball exit speed, or how fast the ball comes off their bat, how hard the ball comes off their bat. Okay, and the reason that we did that is because that tells us how much clay we have to work with. Okay, the bigger, the better the numbers, okay, the more we have to work with. There's a ton of kids out there that, you know, are pretty consistent, you know, great swing, good little ball player, all that stuff. Okay, but the ceilings kind of right here. And you want those kids, they're great kids, they're not going to lose you ball games, okay, but they don't have that high ceiling that I think, or that I know represents what that tribe program is designed to do. And to give a better understanding of that, you know, I think that what we're looking for out of those players is if you fall into if you do all the baseball stuff, you know, the way that we're looking for, and then you fall into the top 25% in some of those categories. Okay, that's really what we're, you know, looking for. And to put data to that, okay, we'll use the 15s as an example. Okay, the top 25% of our 15-year-olds that have tried out ran about a 7.360. Okay, the average of all players that tried out at 15U ran a 7.97. Okay, so you can see a pretty good gap there. Okay, the top 25% when they were throwing, you know, when we were radar gunning their throws, top 25% averaged 78.64. Okay, the average overall was 71.05. Ball exit speed, top 25%, 77 miles an hour, average 70 overall. And then on that pro agility run, the top 25% were 447, and the average overall is 481. Okay, and that trend kind of continues down throughout all the teams. And the reason that this is important is I'm not saying that in order to be a good baseball player, okay, you have to be this ultra gifted athlete. Okay, I was a good baseball player. Okay, I think I was. I worked really hard at it. I was a good baseball player. The reason I didn't get paid a lot of money to do it is because I didn't have some of those things. And I'm okay saying that. I had my opportunities, I had my chances, okay, but I didn't have that upside, I didn't have that ceiling, I didn't have that it, you know, that they were looking for. Okay, I got as far as my talents were taken. And I'm totally okay with it. Okay, so when we're going through and we're saying, this tribe team, we're going with our best 9. Okay, our best 9 to me means the guys that people are going to come and watch. Okay, and if you take that 25% number, again, let's say at the 15-year-old level, we take 30 kids. 25% of 30 is what, 7.5? Okay, so we're saying that there's about 7.5 of these tribe-type players. And looking at our 15-year-old team last year, I'd say that was pretty accurate. There are about 7.5 kids that I think were, you know, lockdown players. Now, oddly enough, there's 8 positions on the field and a pitcher. Okay, so when we say the best 9, that's what we mean. We're looking for a guy in each of those spots who have the highest ceiling, who have the best tools. They may not be, in your eyes, the best or the most consistent ball player, okay, but that's not what we're doing it for. Okay, we're doing it to put those kids on a platform where they can be seen by the highest level. Okay, now that leaves the other 75%, right? Okay, and there's nothing wrong with being the other 75%. Okay, that's, you know, I broke it down again and I looked at kids who were starters on the Indians teams, and they fell into that middle third. Okay, numbers-wise, they did 2 or 3 things in that middle third. Okay, plus we're good, fundamentally sound baseball players, you know, had some baseball sense, all those other things, you know, that are important. Okay, but that's really, you know, when people are asking, well, what team am I going to be put on and why, that's what I'm looking at first and foremost. Okay, and every team that we're going to put on the field, I am certain is going to be a competitive team this year. Okay, they're going to be competitive because they're going to be challenged the way they should be challenged. They're going to play against teams they should be playing. They're going to be put in tournaments where they can be competitive. Okay, I'm not going to take a team and throw them into an environment they shouldn't be in. Okay, it's just not going to happen. And that's what, you know, that's really what the difference is. A couple other notes that I put on here going back to my presentation. You know, I put intangibles and makeup are kind of multipliers. You know, you see a lot of good kids, like, man, I just love that kid. He's a grinder. You know, he's got a good motor in him. He gets after it. Okay, but if he doesn't have those other things, you know, it's still not going to be enough. Okay, on the other end, those guys that you're comparing neck and neck, you know, we want the guy that does. I think I told some of the kids at the tryout the other day, you know, you take those intangibles, it's like an honors class. You know, you get an A in a regular class, 4.0, and an honors class, 4.5. That's just what those intangibles are. They multiply whatever God gave you. I put on here, I said, anyone can join the tribe team. Let me know. If you want to be on the tribe team, great. If you don't play, you know, that's your problem. Simply put, we okay with that? All right. Put on here pride versus development. And I think that's part of it too. You know, everybody wants keeping up with the Joneses. Well, I didn't get selected to this tribe select team, so I'm not as good. And, you know, what am I going to do? Listen, you're here because you want your son to be the best he can be. I'm here because I want your son to be the best he can be. I don't think any of our coaches, I don't think any coach in general for that matter has ever woke up one morning and said, you want to know what, I'm going to put our worst lineup on the field. I'm going to do wrong by this kid. Okay, it just doesn't happen. You know, we are on your team. I am on your team trying to help your kid. And if he's sitting on the bench on A team, he's not getting better. Okay, he needs an avenue to play, get at bats, get innings, get reps, all that stuff. So that's tribe versus Indians. I think I'm talking a lot. So I think right now might be a good chance to break for a second and take a few questions on some of the stuff that I've covered at this point.
Nelson, what's the cost?
What does it cost?
Yeah.
We'll get to that. That's here. Questions on stuff that I've covered to this point. We'll go that way.
You talked about 5 practices a week, but yet I only heard you talk about Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evening practices, and then something on the weekend. Can you describe how that
Last week
works?
we went Saturday morning and Sunday evening.
And are those all then, are the weekends more mandatory than, I mean, how
The
does that work?
You know, what we've told people in the past, if you can make one weeknight session and one weekend session,
Okay.
you know, that would probably be a good place to start. And with that part of it, if your son's in a fall or winter sport, that is undoubtedly the priority. If you have a religious commitment, that is the priority. A school commitment, that is the priority. If you say, hey, you know, I'm going to be whatever, I'm the godfather of my niece, that is the priority. Okay, family, school, faith, take care of that stuff. You know, we get it. I understand. I encourage it. And fall sports and winter sports.
The Saturday, Sunday, is that team specific or is that in the group environment like you were talking Tuesday through Thursday?
Good question. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are open up to the high school program. Okay, and what we've seen is, you know, roughly 40% of the kids show. Saturday and Sunday, we'll break down the 15s and 16s will be grouped together, and the 17s and 18s will be grouped together. So we'll cover, I mean, practice are going to be covering a lot of the same things, we just do it, you know, with those two age groups together.
How much of those Tuesday, Monday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday are actually skill specific, so hitting, pitching, as opposed to conditioning?
Well, that's a good part of it. Those Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, it's not like you're going to a conditioning session. Okay, what we do, if you could break it down, you know, if the kids would come in, they do their 15-minute warm-up, you know, which is the same throughout the whole program. After that, we break them out into about 6 different groups. You know, sometimes we do it by position, other times we just count them off, other times, you know, we partner them up. Okay, but about 6 different groups, and then we'd have 6 10-minute rotations. Okay, so it would go, for instance, we would have, you know, a medicine ball thing, okay, and then we'd have a hitting to go with it. So the two would go together. So you'd have the conditioning, as you want to phrase it, and then the baseball, skill specific. And then we'd have like a pro agility run, and then we'd work on, you know, moving laterally for ground balls. Okay, so we show them how it applies. You know, how if you get better at this, you'll be a better baseball player, and here's how you do the skill part. You know, here's how you approach it to your glove side, here's how you go after your backhand, you know, after doing an agility run. So everyone is going to cover, you know, skill-specific things. The Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are just going to have that other element that the weekends won't. Did I answer the question? Okay.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday include pitching skills?
that's all, that has been, and I talked about the survey that I sent out. You know, that was a lot of the feedback that I got, you know, that we neglected that a little bit in lieu of doing some of the more positional stuff. And I know, is he here? TJ, he is there. TJ told the kids before we broke for the summer, he said, hey, you know, I'm gonna pick out tonight and we'll get our bullpen work in and get that stuff done. So we are gonna give some more attention to that. See if we can group the kids in, especially the kids who are pitchers over position players. You know, even if we have to separate it and say, hey, today go over and focus on that, get your bullpen in. You know, we are gonna give more attention to it this year, definitely. Other questions?
How many players do you carry on each team?
That is not the presentation. Pretty much it works out where it's age equals player. So it's like 15s have 15 players, 16, 16, 17, 17, 18, 18. And the reason it's like that is because as you move up, normally you get a few more guys that are just pitcher onlys, and you're not going to tax as many kids that way. You know, they're pitching here, they're pitching there. You need more arms to go into those tournaments. So that's what we found to be a better number.
I know you didn't bring it up at all, but and I'm guessing you do, but in the new place, are you gonna have mounds?
There will be a bullpen area. And the cool thing about this bullpen, we're going to have it clay, just like the old play ball had. It will have 3 pitching rubbers, you know, whereas the old one had 2. And then beyond where the catcher would squat, you know, you have 150 plus feet behind there to get your long toss. So if you want to go through a bullpen session, lengthen it out a little bit, you know, we have the ability to do that now.
If you have on the 16-year team, 16 players, and you have the 8 position players that you think are the best 8 playing most of the time, but you have 5 people who are skilled shortstops, and you're going to select the best one, and 3 catchers, and you're going to select the best one, but you have 16 players who all want to play college baseball, how will the ones that are not getting as much playing time be showcased so the college scouts can see?
That's why actually this past year, going with that approach, you know, there were periods of time with those tribe teams, you know, we only had 12, 13 guys. Because those bottom couple said, hey, I want more playing time on the Indians team. And I guess that's why I'm giving my kind of push for everyone in here to realize that both teams that we're putting out on the field are going to have the same, if you want to call them exposure opportunities, they're going to have the same, opportunity to play baseball. And they're going to have the same opportunity to train for baseball and all that stuff. Going into the season, you know, you have a couple good shortstops, you run a rotation. You know, I would imagine that on those tribe teams, you're probably going to have 4 kids, 5 kids that all are high school shortstops. You know, and last year we had a kid at short, and he'd slide over to second, go to third, kind of rotate the infielders through. And that's what you're going to see that a lot of the better teams are forced to do, you know, because not everybody can stand in the middle of the field. You know, so.
But are you saying you will rotate players and give everybody an opportunity, or are you going to select one person to play primarily each position, and the other people won't necessarily rotate or they'll be playing out of position?
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you look at that top 25%, I could do it over all levels. I could do it over all trials that we've ever had. Okay, the common denominator is they all say shortstop, they all say center field, they all say pitcher. If they're left-handed, they all say first base. Okay, because that's just what those kids are. You know, you move up to college, you look to your right and your left, he was a shortstop, I'm a shortstop. First baseman was a shortstop, you know, in a lot of cases. And I think that's kind of where it has to go. So the team might be made up of all shortstops, you know, and you rotate those guys through. So it's not like one kid's a shortstop, everybody else is sitting, and we have just a third baseman. You know, I'm thinking about we had 6, on our 16U tri team last year, we had 6 shortstops, on the 15s, I mean, probably 5 that will be playing shortstop. But they played second, third, left, you know, kind of moved around. And then got an opportunity to play short on occasion.
Nelson, do players ever, based on performance, start out on either the Tribe or the Indians and cross?
We had a little bit of movement early on last season. And it was more need-based, you know, injury, pitching, something like that. But I think I can tell you, you know, I have a pretty good grasp on, you know, just the data, the numbers, you know, what they show. And that's kind of what we went with.
Coach, say for example, if one of your 8 starting players gets into a nasty funk, either defensively or with their bat, what happens then?
Grind through it.
They continue to play? I mean, will they be, will you bring one of the other guys that's sitting down and give them more play time, or how would you handle that?
Here's the unique thing about baseball, okay? As an outsider looking at it, and a person who's experienced the game, those times are inevitable. Okay, they're going to happen. Every single person has been through one, is going to go through one. It's the nature of life. And again, the guys that we're looking at that level, you know, their projectability, their ceiling, their athleticism, you know, is a tick ahead. Okay, it's not performance-based, and I think there's not many colleges out there, okay, and there's certainly probably not many pro teams out there that look at guys and the first thing they do is ask for the stat sheet. Most of them don't care. If they watch him and, you know, this kid's taking BP and his hands are lightning quick and that ball's going 480 feet, okay, they can teach him to be more consistent. Okay, they can refine his swing mechanics and make him a better baseball player, but you can't take a good baseball player and make him hit the ball 480 feet. Okay, so I think, and this brings an important point up, looking back at my past year, okay, having this split, I think more of my time in the off season was taking that middle third and trying to raise them up. Really working with those guys to improve their skills so they can get on to, you know, their varsity baseball team. Okay, but when I went into summer, I think more of my time was spent teaching those guys, those tool guys, you know, those gifted athletes, however you want to say it, teaching them how to be better baseball players on the field. Teaching them how to deal with failure. Teaching them that, you want to know what? You have a chance to play professional baseball one day, okay, you better let things go. Because just like you guys have to go to work every day, that's what professional baseball is. And, you know, I have a responsibility to all of your sons, okay, to make them better baseball players, to give the guys that don't have those things, try to bring them up to par with those things, and take those guys that do have those things. You know, I don't have to teach them how to run faster or hit the ball harder. I need to teach them how to take those and be more consistent with them. So it's not, and we do post stats, you know, we do, but everything's not always performance-based, I guess you could say.
When do you decide to divide the teams up between Tribe and Indians? Is it before the season starts? Is it already made based on tryout stats? When does that decision get made?
I have a pretty good idea. You know, like I said before, there's 7 guys. Maybe if there's a roster of 30, there's 7 of them that we label as such. So I have a pretty good idea. Now the thing that happens with those guys too is they're being pulled in a million different directions. A lot of your top athletes are multi-sport guys. You know, they have to go do 7-on-7 for their football team. They have to go, you know, they have to go to basketball, AAU tournament. So they're pulled in a lot of different directions. You know, so the actual number of guys that are going to be rolled out there, you know, maybe 4 or 5. And if you looked at, and if you ask anybody that was on either of those 2 Tribe teams last year, you know, there were 4 or 5 guys on each team probably that didn't really come off the field. you know, so that leaves 4 or 5 other starting spots. And when I've, you know, talked to some of the families and talked about your son, hey, you know, I could see him fitting in first base here, and he might DH a game, might get behind the plate for a game. Okay, it's not a set in stone, like 100% of the time you're doing this. So again, we can make the initial recommendation and, you know, the initial rosters, but in the first couple weeks of the season, you know, some people are like, well, I want to go over there and play more, or, you know, I'm okay with being a role player. I honest to goodness truth, and I will say this in response, you know, people that looked at the records last year, you know, our 15U Indians team struggled. Okay, and parents and kids that played on that team, it wasn't designed, and I didn't think it would have. Okay, but there were a couple players that decided, since they weren't on this tribe team, you know, they wanted to be on somebody else's top team. Okay, 2 shortstops, probably the shortstop and the second baseman on that team. You know, another injury, you know, all of a sudden things go sideways. And the reason I bring that up is because the person who was going to play shortstop every single day, probably would have played shortstop 90% of the innings on that Indians team, told me point blank that, oh, he's fine being the 14th player on the team, on the tribe team. And I said, well, you're doing your son an injustice, and maybe this isn't the best thing for you. You know, it's the same. Listen, I think I know the kids say that they want to go on and play college baseball, and I think you guys are supportive of that. That's why you're here. I'm not going to pull the wool over your eyes. You know, we're going to be brutally honest with you, and it's not in a bad way. Okay, it's just telling you, you know, what the case is going to be. I can't tell you how many people. It's the same thing between this tribe and the Indians team. It's the same exact thing as this fascination with Division I baseball. Okay, and that's what it is, a fascination. Okay, because the reality of it is, very few get to do it, and a lot of the ones that go there, especially if they're not coming out of a junior college, don't like it too much when they first get there. Okay, I can't tell you how many kids went the Division I route, left to a JUCO or decided to do something else, and then went back later on. Because you think, oh yeah, you know, I get that Illinois uniform on, or that Purdue uniform, or that UIC uniform. I was miserable. As a freshman at UIC, you know, I had that opportunity, I was miserable. I'll be honest, guys, I never steer you wrong. Okay, and the reason I was miserable is for the first time in my life, I didn't get to play. I redshirted. You know, practice every day is tough though. It's tough up here, it's tough in here, because you're like, I can do it, I can do it, I can do it. But if you're not, it's hard. Okay, and the same thing, you know, with this mix and this split right here, you know, we need to find a place for you to get on the field. And it's not saying anybody's less or anybody's this or that. It's just, we want kids to play. And one thing, again, TJ, I'm bringing you up again. You know, after tryouts yesterday, TJ and I were talking, the reality of the kids, not only in this room, but probably 90+% of the kids playing baseball in this area, okay, they're going to keep playing baseball in this area if they choose to go to college. Okay, unless they choose something otherwise, or unless, you know, they do something, you know, phenomenally. You know, they're going to be, if they go to Division I, they're going to be at a Horizon League, a Missouri Valley, a Big Ten, you know, something along those lines. If they go, you know, the Division III route, probably half the kids I feel like go like CCIW schools, like your Augustanas, your Wheatons, your Illinois Wesleyans. There's not a lot of Division II options, but the ones around here, you got Wisconsin Parkside, you got St. Joe's and Rensselaer, you have Lewis, and then NAIA, you know, you have a handful. But so many of the kids go around here, so we're sitting there saying, well, you know, our tribe team, yeah, we go to East Cobb, that's great. How many kids from our program, or any programs from Illinois, have kids that go to Georgia or Georgia Tech? Doesn't happen all that often. You know, so the whole fascination with, oh, you know, I want to go down south and get exposure. Exposure is what you do with what you've done. You know, it's what we do when we send out your information to the colleges and say, hey, you know, here's where we see these guys. What can you do for them? Because we're trying to be upfront and honest with them. So just by poll of hands, you know, people that have been in the program, how many of you have received some correspondence from colleges from being in this program? Okay, as soon as our rosters are finalized, and I hope and I'd imagine you're okay with it, I take my whole list of schools that I have and I send your son's information. You know, I may, to certain schools, star a few guys or say he might be a good fit for your program, but every single person in our program, your information goes to those colleges. You know, and then I'll help out from there, but it's what you guys are ultimately making of it, you know, process. Other questions on?
Did you say a time for the November through February approximately for evening practices?
Last year we did like 8:30. I think Wednesday nights were at 7:30. But it's going to be later in the evening because we figure it gives kids a chance to come home, do their homework, eat dinner. Traffic's dead. You can head there, and they still get back by 10:30, 11. Get a chance to go to bed at a reasonable hour. All right, should I try to get through this? Are there any?
Those are all in Mount Prospect, right?
Those are all in Mount Prospect, yes.
Also, do you think you're going to do the Schaumburg Sports Center again or anything like that this year?
Not unless there's a, real need
Like
for
a
it.
full team, full field, couple practices here and there?
It's not in the plan right now, no. Okay, we'll move on to the next topic here. Our team accommodation program. Okay, something that I think is unique to what we do when the Indians teams travel. Okay, they travel and stay, together as a team. So whether you're going to Bloomington, Illinois, or down to East Cobb or Fort Myers or whatever, the kids stay together. And what we do ahead of time is, leading up to that week, I go through and do all the itineraries. It's a fun job. But we do a whole rooming list. We give you the information, where the hotel. We give you the hotel information well in advance. But then on the itinerary, it'll say where we're staying, what the hotel number is, coaches' numbers, all the kids, their rooming assignments, and then pretty much day by day, as much as we can see with the schedule, we'll say, hey, wake up's at 8, breakfast at 8:30, meet in the lobby at 10:30, game at noon, wearing blue, dinner at Chili's, bed checks at 11. Start it all over. Okay, and the reason we do this is for a couple things. Okay, our responsibility first and foremost is to the players. And some make the argument, well, it costs me more money because he's staying with the team. Okay, and I'm not, sitting here saying anything, but if finances are an issue, okay, your son will be taken care of for a fraction of the cost of your travel and your time away from work. Okay, and I mean that honestly. Like, I go away on the trips because that's my job. Okay, but you don't need to spend a week in Georgia and then say it costs more money because, your kid's staying separately. As an example, we're going to the Fort Myers tournament. It's probably a bad example because there's tournament fees involved. But if you just even wait out that, do this Fort Myers thing for the perfect game, it's $600. People are like, wow, it's $600. Well, a couple grand's in the tournament cost. We get rental vans down there, the whole thing. But imagine mom, dad, son traveling out there for 4 days. You're talking a couple $1,000. Okay, so that's why we're doing it. We're doing it because we want to get your son to this baseball tournament and make sure that he has food in his belly, he's got transportation to and from, and he's taken care of. So that's the way that goes. On the accommodation program, we stay 4 per room. And I've also heard, geez, that's crowded. They're high school kids, it's not enough room. I was the second smallest person on my college team. Second smallest. And we stayed 4 per room. Okay, Division I program, we stayed 4 per room. So I think if I was capable of doing it, I packed my air mattress, I was good to go. you know, your 15, 16, 17-year-old son should be all right with it too. On the accommodation program, I said dinner's included. We set a $20 per day per diem for each kid and each coach. So what isn't done in dinner and stuff like that, we'll bring water, you know, sometimes we stop and get sunflower seeds or Gatorade for the kids. So, you know, coaches do our best to get them what they need. One important thing, and you know, it says right on here, and you'll receive forms on each of those tournaments. It says to play in the tournament, you have to be a part of the team accommodation program. Okay, it's kind of like an all or nothing type deal. And again, the reason we do that, it was voted on by the board at one of our meetings last winter, is because if you start having these one-offs, and you need to have these side conversations, well, there's this circumstance and that circumstance and this, it just opens up the floodgates. You know, everybody's got a reason to do something, and you know, it's an important piece of our program. I believe that the reason our retention rate of players wanting to come back this season is so high is because the kids had that experience. And you're gonna have, I mean, I'll be the first one to say, you're gonna have a few moments where kids get at each other's throats a little bit. Okay, it's bound to happen. Okay, but the way that we handle it and the way that we deal with it, you know, is going to give them a chance to learn from it and grow from it. And also, you know, along with that retention rate thing, you know, when you leave a game and you're leaving with mom and dad and you lose 8-2 and dad's like, oh man, you shouldn't have made that pitching move and that kid's no good, you know, and the coach and the other players start getting thrown under the bus. Okay, you want to know what? That gets deep into here. And your son starts believing that too, and he looks at his teammates differently. He doesn't respect his coach anymore, and things get out of control pretty quickly. And it's not knocking anybody because, hey, I do the same thing. You know, I recap in my head, oh, I screwed that up, I should have done this. We're going to make mistakes, it's baseball. Okay, but when you lose a tough game, or you win a great game, you should be with your teammates. Okay, you should pick up the guys that are down. Okay, you should pat the guy in the butt, the guy that, you know, won the game. You should be together. And you should be able to face your coach, you know, win, lose, draw. He pulls you out, whatever. That's part of growing up. That's part of preparing for what the college baseball experience is going to be like. You know, that's part of being a man. So I feel very strongly about it. And like I said, we did vote on it last winter. And if you're uncomfortable with that, again, this might not be the best place for you. Did I miss anything on the trailer park?
I don't think so.
Are there any questions on the trailer parks? That's kind of a big one.
I realize the boys stay in the same room,
Yes.
and I'm sure that the team gets reduced rate accommodations. If the parents did want to go, are they welcomed to get the same rate for their own room?
Yes. We were lucky enough to have a few parents, actually who are in attendance tonight, last year help us out, and they each kind of took on an individual age group. So they laid that out, and I think we probably had it out by what, January, February?
February.
I announced tournaments, and the same thing this year. I should have our tournament schedule done by January 1st, and right away they hopped on it. We had hotel reservations done by February, send it out to all the families. You know, they had until so-and-so date to book. Yeah, so a lot of the parents stayed at the same hotel. And one other cool thing, and parents, you may not even realize this, but some that have been through it, you don't realize how much more time you have to enjoy yourself when you don't have to show up an hour and a half early, you know, and sit there and wait for the coach to, you know, talk to the team after the game, or, you know, have them run sprints because they weren't pulling their head out of their, you know what's. But it just frees up you. So if you're going, you know, if you are going to travel, you know, and you're going to spend a weekend down wherever, all right, well, you know what, we'll show up for first pitch, and we'll be enjoying 2-for-1 appetizers, you know, down the street. So it's nice for the parents to be able to get away and, you know, enjoy that right for them.
How are you handling the cleaning of the uniforms that when you're gone for 4 days and you got all this cleaned up? Who's taking care of it?
Who takes care of it? Well, at the beginning of the year, okay, or the beginning of the season, see every team that I've ever been, or every trip I've ever went on, you know, I've assigned kids, hey, you and you got it tonight, you and you got it tomorrow. Part of growing up. I think some of the coaches got a little lax, and you know, some of the parents picked up the slack. There was one Louisville, right, where it wasn't actually in the hotel.
Right.
Marnie, right? 'Cause
Yeah.
I jumped all over you. I saw an email go out. She's like, yeah, I'm picking up the uniforms and I'll take them over to get the laundry done. I responded just to her. I'm like, you're not doing laundry. I'm like, why aren't the kids doing laundry? Yeah, because there wasn't laundry at that hotel for. It's because we moved location or whatever the case may be. We changed hotels or something. But by the end of the year, on the itineraries, it actually said night one. You know, I had one representative from each room collect it, bring it down, you know, bring it back. And if they didn't do it, you know, shame on them. But you know, we accounted for it.
Let's travel handbook to the tournaments.
To the tournaments is on the families. And what we found is that most of them, like say the Indians teams, or say you go out of town 2 times, you know, you're gonna buddy up, you know, you probably already know somebody, but as the season progresses, you probably become closer with somebody, or as the winter training goes. So the parent says, well, I don't have to go this weekend, and you know, they bring one kid one weekend and you bring their kid the next weekend. And I think the big part of that is just, you know, different people have to leave at different times for different reasons and are coming from different locations. So we really don't have like a central meeting point and launching point because geographically we're kind of spread out.
Yes. You should, the rental vans are only for the far trips.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, the only couple trips that we did those rental vans were for, yeah, we went to Atlanta, we went to Florida. Outside of that, you know, it was kind of that shared responsibility thing, you know, amongst the parents and some of the coaches. Yes?
So on average, how many tournaments are out of state? Out of like 7 to 9 tournaments?
Last year we did, with the tribe teams, 3, with the Indians teams 2.
So would you say most are within like a 3-hour radius of Chicago? Or-
Yeah, we did Indianapolis, Springfield, Bloomington, Ann Arbor, Michigan, a little bit outside 3 hours, which actually turned into Toledo. Truth be told, the night before the tournament. We did Louisville. Yeah, so pretty much around here. You know, Kenosha, which wasn't an overnighter, and then there's some other ones. There's some one-offs like Rockford and DeKalb. Beautiful Jefferson High School, Rockford, Illinois. You know, and some of the parents decided to stay out there for a night, but that wasn't part of the program. Other travel questions?
So on the Florida trip, it's just get down there however you can?
Yeah, there were a couple kids last year that flew on their own, and we coordinated that, so they were on the same flight as I was. And that's the way we've done it kind of all along. Any other travel questions? Let's see if I can get on through this. Player fee question. Okay, this year the player fees for the 15U is $2,000, and for all the other 16 through 18 is $1,800. In order to secure your spot, I know some have seen the roster confirmation thing. It's a $350 deposit, roster spot deposit, I guess you could say. And then beyond that, the remaining payments are split up in 8 months. So whatever that comes out to. Sorry, it's kind of hard to read here. There's a few different options on it. Are we doing, our check is on there, right?
Yeah.
You'll get a payment contract form And the different options on there, you can have an ACH, which is your checking and routing number. It's automatically deducted on a given day each month. You could do a credit card, and then you could do a check. You know, you can write a check and send it to the P.O. box. And one thing on all this money stuff, I expressed it in my email. I don't touch it. I don't see it. I don't want to hear about it. Okay, please handle it elsewhere. The water gets muddied when I start talking about it because I don't have access to it. I don't see it. And you know, my responsibility is to baseball and your boys, not to that part of the program. One thing to be said though on that, and I'm just going off the list here, is those prices are a check and ACH, right?
Yeah,
Those
cash
two.
discount.
That's a discount for that. If you choose to use credit card, you know, the credit card fee is included in there, so it's about 3% more.
Right.
Okay. And the reason it is 3% more, I learned early on when I was still handling the finances that when you have 100 kids and $2,000 and everybody's paying by credit card, it's about 10, 12 grand at the end of the year you didn't account for. That's why I'm not handling money anymore. A couple other things on that. There is a $150 sponsorship that we ask. And the reason we do that is kind of reciprocal. You know, we want the Indians' name to get out into the community. You know, and then also we want, you know, that to come back here, and we want to send people out to that business. You know, I was looking to refinance my mortgage, and I pulled on our Indian sponsor page, and I'm like, hey, there's a couple people here. You know, I mean, truth be told, and I hope that as joining the program that you guys would do the same. You know, because everybody, you know, we all know about what's going on in the world, and things are expensive. We'll help out, you know, the people that are going to be spending time with. It's a really important thing. It brings a sense of community back into the program. And then it says on here the uniforms, the equipment, lessons, and stuff like that are not included. Okay, uniforms, I will say this year, the uniforms may not be the exact same brand, okay, or the same cut, okay, but they are going to be the same style. Okay, they're going to have the same printing on the blue one, the same printing on the white one. Okay, the pants are going to be the same. Okay, so returning players, the reason we do that is so, you know, people don't have to repurchase them, or they're not building in the cost of that every year. You can use your stuff year to year, or if you want to buy new stuff, you have an extra one for when you go on the road, to answer that laundry question.
What are you seeing as the general price for the uniforms then?
It's the next slide. Sure you don't have it on your phone there? The price for the uniform, you know, it says on here budget $200 to $300. I looked at the actual price of the required items. You know, you need a pair of pants, you need a hat, and you need your 2 jersey tops. It's right around $150. And I will say this too, in regard to the uniform, just like the money, I'm not touching it, I'm not handling it, nor is anybody in the Indians program. We probably will ask for some people to help sort through it and take sizes again, but we're going to use a true third party this year to handle all that stuff, from placing the order to handling it to distributing it and collecting payment on it.
Nelson, with the fees, you still get the membership to play ball or whatever, so you can use the batting cages and stuff wherever you want?
Yeah, it was on the slide. Let me see if I missed anything else on why play for the Indians. Oh yeah, it's the first bullet point. It says all players receive a special Indians membership at Players U Play Ball USA. So one thing on that is this isn't, you know, what Play Ball USA used to be. You know, it is a multi-sport thing. It is this huge facility. Okay, so that is going to be more for the baseball aspect. And you can go there and work out and stuff like that, but it's not like a free-for-all where, you know, yeah, I just want to go running up and down the turf and there's somebody trying to do something else. You know, so it's kind of a, that's what we specified, the Play Ball USA portion.
But you could use other portions of it, like
The weight room, yes.
basketball and the weight room. And
Yeah, you can, but it's just not, if there's something going on,
Right, you have respected.
Right. Did I miss anything on the
I don't think so.
accounting part? And I'm referring to Jeff on that because that's what he does very well. There are gonna be, once you confirm your roster spot, and once we announce the rosters, you'll receive a couple other documents, our code of conduct, which is undergoing some changes here. The payment contract, which we talked about, and then waiver forms, for the indoor training at the facility. And one thing that, I think would be wise that is actually not on here, we'll probably do the birth certificate thing just now, get them all scanned in. So that's always like a last minute, hey, we need a birth certificate this weekend. We'll probably get that up front this year and just keep them on file. Make that a lot easier. Growth within the program.
I have one other question.
Yes.
If somebody does want a private type of lesson,
Yep.
that's not included, obviously, what's the cost of something like that?
I don't have the menu of services, and that's changed from what Play Ball used to be, but you will receive a discounted rate
Okay.
on those as well. It's in that probably $40, $45 range, half hour. And then larger packages, just like anything else, drop the price down.
But if you wanted to go on your own and use a batting cage on your own, other than when the team is playing, and as long as no one else is scheduled to use a batting cage, can you schedule yourself in and you can go whenever you want?
Right, you'll have a phone number to call.
Okay.
And same thing, we slot them into half-hour increments.
Okay.
Something that might work well, especially works better with the high school guys, partner up. Find a teammate to go with.
Right.
You help each other out.
Sure.
It's better to see a live arm than a machine. Go through all your drill work and all that. I don't have, there's the uniform slide, and I have a little thing to leave with at the end. But I guess I could take, more questions now.
How many teams do you think you're gonna have at each level?
I'm going into it, I was thinking 6, but I'm pretty confident 15 through 18 will probably have a tribe and a Indians team at every level.
Okay, and for the 17-year-old tournaments, I know you said the tribe is gonna have a platform to play on, but the Indian team, the 17-year-old Indian team, will they be playing on a venue in a college atmosphere, or will it be?
Yeah, 17, is a lot different than a lot of the 16-year-old tournaments. So most of them are going to be, at least the title of the tournament would suggest that you should play there. You all know as well as I do that when you actually show up and you're at a high school 30 minutes away, we don't have much control over that. But yeah, they're going to be titled along to a college. And one thing with that too, at the 17 and 18-year-old level, TJ and I were talking, numbers wise, you look on paper, you take the top 9 versus 10 through 18 or 10 through 17, 7-game series would come down to game 7. There's a lot of really talented players. And, there's also a lot of different tournaments and a lot of different people's desire to go to certain tournaments. And we were trying to lay out, okay, well, if we went to this perfect game event this week, and, that's different than this Cobb event, which is this week, you're not going to expect people to travel for 3 weeks out of a month. It's just not reasonable. So we may carve out for each of those 4 teams, say there's 17 Indians, 17 tribe, 18 Indians, 18 tribe, one of those kind of higher profile, longer commitment type things for each of the teams, and then kind of dictate the rosters from there. based on whether or not people can go at those times. So,
I have one more question.
Mhm.
Are you gonna send a group of kids to Stevenson High School for the 17-year-olds?
no,
Okay.
that's a good question. The Stevenson Showcase, or Plainfield Showcase, for those that live in the southwest suburbs, is 100% up to the high school coaches. It's sponsored by the Illinois High School Coaches Baseball Association. Up here, Harvey Foster runs it. Down there, Jimmy Hall runs it. So, travel coaches, nobody has any say in who gets that. The way that we do it in the East Suburban Catholic, when we go to our all-conference meetings, we nominate players 2 weeks ahead of time. So this year I nominated, I think, 6 of our juniors. And then we go through the whole list, and first priority goes to any juniors that were all-conference players are automatically on. Okay, the second tier from there, you know, if they were nominated for all-conference, those guys get in. So they had to have the statistics to warrant it. And then the third tier are guys that didn't get a chance to play as much as juniors, but you think have some upside, and it would be a good platform for them. So it's all up to your high school coach. And, you know, I know we only had 2 guys from Notre Dame last year, and, you know, it was unfortunate, because I would have liked to get a couple other guys on there, but you're only allowed a certain number of players. You know, 22 players is what they want to keep it to, and we have 9 teams in the conference. Do the math. You know, it's about 2.5 players per team. So that's the way the Stevenson Showcase works out.
Are you planning to also have 2 coaches per team or 1?
We will have, there will be 2 coaches per team. And one thing along with that I will say, it kind of mixes in a couple different questions, a couple things we talked about. You know, we had a 17-person board last year. Every single team in the program was represented on the board. If a coach doesn't show up to your game, let us or let the board member know so he can report things like that. Because we did have a few instances, you know, both of our 15U and 16U Indians teams and our 18U Indians team all had 2 coaches that were assigned to them. The 15U tribe and the 16U tribe kind of mixed and matched different guys. That's why I was actually there more often than not, because the assistants kind of backed out on this last second. But then I find out after the season, hey, well, our coach wasn't there the last 2 weeks. And I find this out like August 10th. Okay, so, you know, what I can ask you, you know, I know, like, petty stuff, like, you know, I don't even know what's petty. I guess everything's pretty important to you. But if you're talking about the difference between pitching 3 and 4 innings, okay, I don't want to hear it. I may not even respond to you, to be honest. Okay, but if your coach doesn't show up to a game, let somebody know. Okay, we can't make the program better. We can't handle issues like that unless somebody, you know, flips the switch and says, hey, this is going on. And that's probably 2 or 3 years that's happened now. Okay, especially because your money, your hard-earned money that you're spending is being budgeted to pay for those guys who aren't showing up. You know, which is terrible. Okay, but, you know, unless we have some way of controlling that and seeing that, you know, it goes unnoticed. Other questions?
What are you doing at the 17, 18 age? Are you doing 17, 18 combined again, or 18 or 17?
It'll be, you know, we're going to have to design the rosters to, I'm not going to say balance them out, but to make each team as strong as possible. So there's a very good possibility, you know, we had, I think, 18 true 18-year-olds try out, and if we're invited to the team, well, if we're going to do 2 teams, you know, that suggests that we're going to have some 17s up. And the way I'm looking at it right now, some of those, when I'm saying 1 through 9 and then 10 through 17 face off pretty well against each other. You know, some of those better 17-year-olds will play 18U tribe. And all 4 teams on paper in August, would suggest that they're going to be pretty competitive. And I will say this, if you look at the difference in record between some of those teams, what wins the games? And pitching and defense, right? You said it a million times. I guess that would be the big difference between the Tribe and the Indians. If it's the difference between 28 wins and 20 wins, or however you want to do it, the Tribe team's probably going to have a little bit more pitching depth. But that might be a good thing, because some of the Indians guys might be position players and pitchers, and could do that, at a Division III school or at a junior college.
You did talk about, the 25% of, Tribe players, but you never did give like a timeline of when you were deciding who was gonna be on what team. Unless I missed it.
I'll be honest with you, I've bounced back and forth on when to announce what. I could say, hey, here's the 6 guys we've labeled as guys that aren't coming off the field. Make your choice from there. Or I could say, here's 16 guys that are all Tribe players, knowing that the bottom 4 on that team are going to be disgruntled and want to change teams anyways. What do you think is the best way to handle it? It's the honest goodness truth. Honest goodness truth. Could play, could put 4 starting 8s together, starting 8 positions together, and fill them from there. I mean, there's a number of different ways to do it. All I'm saying is that if you are adamantly set on being part of the Tribe team, let me know. I'll put you there, and I'll be honest. Where do you see my son? On this team, he's going to play 2 out of 4 games, play this position, that position, and that's it. He's over here. He's starting at first base every day, hitting 5th.
I completely understand what you're saying. What my son's question is, what our question is, he wants to play baseball over the summer.
Right.
So he wants to be on a team that he's going to get to play on, whether that's a Tribe team or whether that's an Indian team.
Right.
Are you saying that if they're on the Indians team, there's going to be some rotation where they're going to get some good playing time? If they've been selected, if they get on the team, their expectations, they're going to go to tournaments, they're going to contribute to the team, feel like a part of it.
There was definitely more movement on the Indians teams than the Tribe teams. Yes.
Are you notifying the Tribe team players that you say are in this 25% up front? Or is everybody just get this blanket, okay, come and play, and then we'll let you know what it is?
There's not been one email that's sent out that has said, hey, you're a Tribe player.
And I know that. I'm just
People that I've talked to, if I look and said, hey, he was 93 off the bat, well, you want to know what? There's a pretty good chance that you're going to be a Tribe local player. You're going to be on this Tribe team. And where we go from there.
But are you notifying the kids that you feel that this is a 25%er that is going to be a Tribe player?
They have a pretty good idea. Yes. I've had some I'm not going to say every single person I've talked to.
Right.
But most of the ones that asked that question, and I was pretty confident that's the type of player it was, I've had that conversation with them. And I just, I think the hard thing about it is we're all out there and we're all looking at the same thing and we all know it, and then everybody just gets kind of sideways and disappointed, coming to realize what the truth is. And if it would help people to see, and I'm probably going to do it anyways, I'll send out the trial data. If you want to see where your son falls, there's been people that have asked questions in here specific to their son. Well, here's that grid. Top 25%, top 50%, middle third, your son.
That's fine.
Yeah, and it's a really good way, at least to establish, a ground level, a baseline, and then work up from there.
Right. I think that would be fair, because otherwise, parents don't know where their child actually finished in your evaluation.
Yes.
So, otherwise, we're operating in the dark saying, okay, we've got an invitation, and this is of no disrespect to you, sir, at all, but we don't know how he did, so we can't tell where his pluses and minuses are, so we can't say, oh, we think he's this, but he's really that. So, you know, if we could get that information, it would make it a lot easier for a lot of parents to say, oh, we see he needs improvement in this area. That's fine.
Right.
That would help us a lot.
Nelson, when do you divide the two teams up? February after the training, 3-4 months, or?
Great question.
That's what we're trying to collectively figure out right now. That's what I'm saying. I could tell you that 5, 6 guys that, you know, undoubtedly they have pretty much their spots, and from there it's kind of an open book.
So after the meeting, what's next? How do we know that you want our son to be an Indian, be part of the organization? How do we get on that?
There's been 3/4 of the invites sent out right now, and I did that, you know, because we have 1/4 of the tryouts left. And I said in one of my messages out to everyone that I can't invite more kids than there's spots for. So that's the way I approached it. After the first tryout, I invited the shoe-ins, really. I mean, the top 1/4, the tribe kids, you know, after the first tryout, I sent those out. You know, after the second round of tryouts, about half the invitations went out. We're at about 75–80%, and we have 1 tryout. And by, you know, Monday or Sunday night, Monday of next week, 100% of our invites will be out. And you'll know one way or another.
Commitment part, does that have to be done online, or?
All that roster commitment online is doing is asking for the contact information, really. You can pay it online, or you can just print out that form and send it in. Okay, the reason that that's really important is even like now, I had to call a parent back today. I just searched it and I have mom's name, dad's name, email, phone number, and it's a lot easier than trying to get it later. So if you fill out that form, you know, we're expecting the other end of it, the financial part, to go to the PO box as well. Other questions? What's that?
What's the last date for the roster?
What's number 1 on there?
What's the day you had that email?
Yeah. We're hoping to have everything solidified by September 1st.
Are there tournaments that start in the summer that start on Thursday? Or
Some, yes.
do the kids just miss, like if they're doing the summer baseball through
High school program.
high school program Monday through Thursday with the high school and they're?
Yeah, again, it's not all, but most coaches are fairly understanding, and, you know, just open lines of communication. You know, if there's gonna create a huge issue, you know, by all means, we're not here to stir the pot or start a fight, so.
Nelson, can I add something?
Yes.
My son played on the 16U Indian team last year, and I want to let everybody know, especially, it's kind of hard to decide what are you going to do, but, you know, what if they don't make the tribe, what if they just make the Indian? There was a lot of really good players on the team. So if you're confused and you don't know what to do, there's a lot of really good players on both levels. You know, and it just depends upon, you know, how much playing time you really want your son to have.
Thank you. I guess a good way of looking at that too, you know, as you move up, you know, you go to college baseball, they're all good ball players. You go to professional baseball, you have your prospects, and then you have the other guys from the prospects to play with. You know, and that's, they're called suspects. It takes, you know, it takes 9 guys on each side to play baseball. So, he was one, I was the other. You know, that's part of it. And the important thing is that you're out there and you're playing that.
I think with the selection thing too, I mean, like my son last year, he was throwing 69 miles an hour. And then when he went to the winter workouts, I mean, he got up to 83 miles an hour. Probably, you know, kids dump that. I mean, obviously it's going to make the decision different.
You wanna know what, that's a perfect example right there, and do you mind if I reference him by name? If you would ask me if, last August, if Devin Rybacke was gonna be the top hitter, starting every game on the Tribe team, I would have said no. I see him maybe as a fourth outfielder, good contact guy, whatever. Blew my mind. And I will say, it took a lot of hard work on Devin's part. But I think that the training program that we had in place for his mentality was the perfect match. The kid showed up every day, busted his tail, and those numbers, that's like the fat guy in the Hydroxycut commercial, like results are not normal. Okay, but honest to goodness truth, Devin, and I'll still say, Devin's got kind of a funkier arm action, okay, and you watch him throw and you're like, you know what, I like him swinging the bat and he runs extremely well. He's kind of, I don't really know about this guy, but he knew what he needed to work on, and the kid jumped from 69 to 83. And I remember the look on his face. I was holding the radar gun when he hit 83, and it was like 2 weeks before high school tryout. You're talking about a kid, too, listen to the Devin show. You want a kid, too, that was on his freshman B baseball team, correct?
Yeah.
He hit like 700 or something ridiculous, but, freshman B baseball player, we saw him as kind of the middle of the pack guy. The kid hit 394, had some of the biggest at-bats all summer. Game-winning hits, made some incredible plays in the outfield, threw guys out, going first and third. Just a lights-out summer. And, I think that training really kind of hit a chord with him, and it was awesome. It was awesome. So, there are exceptions to me saying that, I don't know what's going to happen. Or I know who those 4 or 5 guys are. So I'll invoice you later for. Other questions? And I'll just we'll get out of here. I know we've been here too long. I'm talking too much. But I just wanted to. I saw this yesterday. I was kind of refining the presentation that didn't work. And a quote from Mother Teresa. Okay, and Mother Teresa's cool because I'm a big John Wooden guy, huge John Wooden. I love reading his books and reading about him. And he always said that the 2 people he liked to read most about was Mother Teresa and Abraham Lincoln. Okay, and this was posted through that. Mother Teresa says, people are often unreasonable, illogical, and self-centered. Forgive them anyways. If you are kind, people may accuse you of being selfish, have ulterior motives, be kind anyway. If you are successful, you will win some false friends and some true enemies, succeed anyway. If you are honest and frank, people may cheat you, be honest and frank anyway. What you spend years building, someone could destroy overnight, build anyway. If you find serenity and happiness, they may be jealous, be happy anyway. The good you do today, people will often forget tomorrow, do good anyway. Give the world the best you have, and it may never be enough. Give the world the best you've got anyway. You see, in the final analysis, it is between you and God. It was never between you and them anyway. And, this really hit home with me, especially in this setting, because I understand, I honestly do, I understand that, we're talking about your kids. I have 2 daughters of my own. They're the most beautiful, those kids should be models, future Olympians. I don't know how my one daughter is going to be an Olympian, a president, and a surgeon at the same time. Okay, but I understand it. Like, this is your blood. This is your kid. This is your son. Okay, you want the best for him. Okay, and so do I. Okay, and no decision that I have made in the past or I will make in the future will have anything but his best interest in mind. If that goes from team selection to, what colleges, I'm telling you, I think that he would be a good fit for. It's not a knock, okay? We're in this thing together. And I think it's pretty cool, again this year, that we've seen some people that have left our program, went to see that greener grass on the other side, and have returned back. And I really can't imagine that there's many other programs where people could leave you know, and they'd even feel welcome back. And, you know, I told the kids, I'll tell the parents that I'm around, you know, we're not here to turn our back on you. We're not saying, well, you know, you need to play with us because we're the best in the world. You know, we have a good core group of people, care a lot about what we're doing, and, you know, we're here to help. And we can only do what we can. People are going to come and go, but we're going to keep going. So, with that, that's all I got. Thank you very much.